Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's stuffiest music nerd. And it's time for a review. The Men. Open up your heart. The Men are a New York band who I reviewed last year when they made their Sacred Bones Records debut with the album Leave Home. And the album had some great tracks on it, but it didn't end up being one of my favorites of the year for a couple reasons. For one, the album didn't really have one consistent style or sound. It felt stretched a little too thin because there was never really one angle they kept attacking, so I never really felt like I got to know the band all that well. I got to know their influences though. The band would trip through the sounds of noise rock and post-hardcore and maybe even a little doom metal and punk, garage rock, psychedelic rock as well. It's like the band had all these chips and they just kind of let them fall where they may instead of kind of playing them strategically. The Men seem too in love with the world of rock music to just settle down with one single sound. And like I thought, this new album displays an array of different styles of music on it. They even managed to toy with a few sounds I'm yet to hear them play with. There are moments on here that just are rowdy garage rock with just a tinge of blues in there. Country music, drone, acoustic, ballads, indie rock, ballads, instrumental jams. Stylistically, the band is all over the place again, but I can't help but feel like this time around they went into this album with a much clearer game plan. Like, if they were going to play with as many styles as they wanted to, they were at least going to organize them, make them so that they didn't feel like they were in disarray. Segue some of the tracks into one another. Put the songs that are stylistically similar closer to each other, so the album has a bit more of a flow. The album opens up with these garage punk songs that I told you about, with these shit kicker guitar riffs and these baby girl lyrics. The guitar riffs are all fuzzy and distorted and damaged and overdriven and lo-fi and just badass. It sounds like they're being played out of amplifiers that are on the fritz, like I'm seeing the band live and their amplifiers are just catching on fire because of hot and old tubes and bad wiring. It sounds a little generic, but the band delivers it with enough energy to the point where it's pretty entertaining. The second track is the same way for me, except there's a little bit more of a blues edge in that track. It's got a very country and rootsy feel to it a little bit. The song sounds like what would soundtrack a southern bar fight where beer bottles and pool cues and stools are weapons and bodies are flying in every direction, smashing tables, getting thrown out of windows. But right after that, the album kind of chills out into this very slow and pretty and guitar-led country instrumental, which eventually slides into this guitar drone using the same tremolo effects that were making the song feel so country right at the beginning. And it does this transition pretty well, and an even better transition is right after that. It uses the tremolo effect to bring things into the next track where the band pretty much creates a guitar rock jam that is pulled straight out of the Noi playbook, very kind of krautrock-esque, but it's got some really modern punked out guts to it. I mean, the segues on this LP really make this thing feel like more of a journey, more of an adventure. The indie rock tune that breaks in right after this jam kind of feels like an extension of that song. And then after this, the band kind of settles into a sweet spot with a trio of very short and catchy tracks. I feel like the band kind of breaks off stylistically at this point. The album kind of loses its flow a bit, but the band churns out three of the most memorable songs I've ever heard them write, so I'm really okay with it. The LP ends with some solid jams, and I feel like this album, a lot like that Cloud Nothings album that came out earlier this year, I just get kind of a really solid rock record that's memorable, that's catchy, fun, enjoyable, and just difficult to say no to, even if it is a little derivative, because the energy is most certainly there, and the energy and the passion is really what's attracting me to these songs. Feeling a strong 7 on this LP. I feel like it's a huge improvement over Leave Home. Overall, yeah, it's a little less aggressive, less noisy, less abrasive, and that may have attracted some people to the Men originally. There may be some fans that are disappointed to see those sounds kind of move away. But I thought this LP had a much better flow, some really nice, catchy, and positive vibes coming off some of these tracks, and I don't know, just overall it was a more enjoyable experience for me. I just came away from this album wanting more, wanting repeat listens, and just really looking forward to what these guys do after this. So let me know. What do you think of this thing? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Well, why? And what do you think I should review after this? Anthony Fantano, The Men, forever.